This is Grinden turret 54A, and you might think that you've seen one Roman turret, you've seen them all. And that's not quite true. What archaeologists are constantly looking for in anything is the variations that might collectively give a hint of something. But one variation I see is that outcropping there, that square outcropping on the wall, outside wall. Why? What was the purpose of that? Don't know. Here we can see a greater buildup of rock inside the turret. Was this a vantage point right there where they stood and climbed up here? Was this the floor? Don't really know. We can pretty well gather that this is the entrance, but that was a continuation of the wall there, I would suspect. Maybe they climbed up there, and then maybe right there was, as we saw earlier, an exit so they could walk out here and take a look on the north side. These trees surrounded by wall is Grinden, Mile Castle 34, but nothing remains apparently of it. Maybe underground, but nothing visible. There it looks like it's just a big open shed as opposed to 2 or 3 rooms on each side that we saw. But there you get an idea of the arch and the tower that would have faced to the north there where the Scots were coming from and other tribes. And notice right below us there's a well-defined ditch on the north side, and we can just see its trace all along up there. So this is Mythraic turret 33B. I'm not sure we get anything new out of looking at this one. This little trench along the left may just be an absence of stone, as these stones here seem to suggest. And we're looking at map 19. Old repeater station, if I want that, is behind me. I didn't see the cutoff, but it can't be far between me and those trees. Theoretically was a sign, but I didn't see it. So I think I'll call ahead to Green Cart's farm and see if I can get a space to sleep tonight there. Looking back along the trail, and I'll pan to the north. But what's cool about today's world is I'm getting into it, actually. For the first time on a trip, I bought a cell phone with a SIM card, and now standing out here I call my next abode, which is in Green Cart's farm, and make a reservation for a bunk tonight. And so all I gotta do is get there. This may be the 5th lake that I'd seen from up on top of those far distant hills. And this, I don't know what this is. It certainly looks like it would have been an ancient wall portion, if nothing else. And of course along here is our ditch that faced the marauding tribes, and the mound that accompanies the ditch to the left side of it. Corral bed and breakfast right in there, but somewhere in front over there of that whole copse of trees, you can see its limit down there where the wall is, has a lot of cars in front of it, so I don't know what's there, something significant. Here we are at Brocolita and Mythraic temple, 500 yards. We cross over the road now from where the wall went. And as you can see, we've crossed over the road. We'll go through the field ahead here at an angle and then wrap around the temple, the fort, and then the temple should be off to the right somewhere. And then we continue on up until we cross back over the road. We're working our way around this, relatively speaking, huge square of Brocolita fort. But I noticed this patch of yellow flowers, which is pretty, so I thought I'd just put it up. And this, I think, must be the Mythraic temple. This is the temple seen from a slight elevation. I assume those were pillars that held up whatever the roof was, unless those are relatively new. I don't know what that green patch was for. And this presumably was the altar. It's interesting, there's looks like a dish-shaped, D-I-S-H, shaped stone at the center, maybe for burnt offerings. Some remnants of statuary. Whether it's original to this temple or not, who knows? Hopefully it is. Why those 3 pillars are of different size, I have no idea. This is interesting. What are those 3 feathers going off to the right? There's that column in the middle, has that hollow light portion on top. These straight columns look modern cement, as though they were there to protect and that maybe one time held some kind of cover, which I'm sorry and surprised they don't have over this temple now. This drawing seems to suggest that those 3 pillars are the original. Gives us some idea of what the inside of this might have looked like, and that maybe even those columns are original, or at least reasonable facsimiles. And according to these drawings, those areas on the right and left are benches. And incidentally, some of those statuaries are not just pillars, but rather altars. As we come around the southwest corner of the fort enclosure, there on the hill, a large English estate, it looks like. I'm sure I'll get closer to it, but it looks impressive from here. Here we are at Limestone Corner, where the road should make a chevron turn to the right. Whether the chevron gets its name from that pile of rocks up there that the ditch runs through, I don't know. If you look at the angular cuts and the faces on some of this rock, like take this one right here that has an indentation there that looks like it was man-made, and then the idea that they are going to cut through all the stone to get their ditch in there. I wonder, when did they last use this as a quarry, and why did they think there was no longer any use for it, if they even thought about it? Because it would seem to me that somewhere inherent in that decision, or shortly after, time-wise, it would be historically accurate that they did not and could not and had no reason to continue to build buildings that are lying on top. Pulled out of the ditch and just deposited up there. What a Herculean effort. It gives you some idea of the importance of the ditch, although I'm not sure I know what it was used for or how it was strategically or tactically necessary. Looking to the north and just sweeping around to the west as I take this corner, if you will, the long sweeping corner around Limestone Corner. So somewhere off in that direction is where Green Cart's farm is that I spend the night. It's interesting that in random sections, for no apparent reason that I can gather, there are chunks of the wall that simply remain, while everything else is stripped away and used as across the street in road walls. Some of the wall was preserved because some singular individuals with enough money bought land that contained those walls and forts and so forth and preserved them and rebuilt them in some instances. Other people intimidated nearby farmers with their immoral stealing practices, and that abated it a bit. But why, in general? Why here? This looks like a test to see, by comparison with everything else, what the effect of cows and sheep is on the profile of the ditch.